Yeah, that's it. Wait. Yeah, it's recording. My earliest memory of food would be a Nicky Bicky, which is a very special secret recipe that our nome grandmother makes, and I think it involves a lot of butter and a lot of chocolate, and it's so good.
I remember that my mom always cooked for me. Yeah, like Japanese traditional food and also like kind of Americanized food as well. And I always loved it.
I think it's when I was helping my grandma cooking. She let me do lots in the kitchen, and I wasn't able to do that at home, so it was a great memory.
A lot of my earliest memories of food have not been the best. I never liked eating food. It was never something that I looked forward to, and I would sometimes throw up from eating food. So, nothing great.
Io il mio ricordo con il cibo sono soprattutto, diciamo, con mia mamma che si mangiava tutti insieme, eravamo in 4 figli, quindi con i genitori in 6, tutti intorno ad un tavolo a mangiare tutti insieme e poi la domenica si mangiava la carne.
Io mi ricordo di quando ero all'asilo, quando ci davano le merendine e mi ricordo che mi piacevano tantissimo i budini e, i budini, sì, non so come si chiama e basta.
Not my exact memory, but something my parents recall all the time. It's when they were switching me from like breast milk to actual food, and their first thing they wanted to make me taste was this vegetable soup with all like the gross vegetables, as they told, like broccoli, like all the green stuff basically. And everyone was saying like, oh, she's never gonna eat that, like there's no way. All the babies always spit those stuff up, and when they gave me my first spoon, I absolutely loved it apparently, and they like kept feeding me, and after that, like basically the rest of the history, like I kept trying these weird things that people thought I would not like, but I ended up loving. And I think that was my earliest introduction to food, and that's the one that my parents always recall.
La mia relazione col cibo ha, diciamo, degli alti e bassi perché mi piace mangiare, ma molti cibi non mi piacciono, mentre quando ero più piccola molte cose che adesso non mi piacciono prima mi piacevano, e comunque mi piace mangiare e basta.
I mean, I think a lot of people had struggled with weight stuff, and I obviously, growing up as a woman and as like a person that goes to high school, obviously you have those things about being thin, being like accepted by other people. So that part of food I always had an issue with, and it was never something drastic, but I used to count calories and stuff. But then my other relationship to food is one that is extremely loving. I will never stop myself from eating something because it's fatty or sugary or anything, because I think that's where the deliciousness of it comes from.
It's almost like a religion in our family. It comes from my parents' generation, because my mum's French, so food is really important in the French family, and it's a ceremony where everybody gets together and meets, and yeah, it's very important. So whenever you've been away or you're away from the family, my mother always asks me, she always wants to know what's in my gut, so what have I eaten, you know, what have you eaten? She always needs to know what you're eating, because possibly it's one of the big pleasures in life, next to sex, I suppose, and obviously having a family. So it's pretty important. It's kind of up there.
The first thing I learned to cook is pasta, because I had to cook it when I came home from school, so it was pretty easy and fast, and you get full in a great way. So I think pasta was my first thing I learned to cook.
Sì, penso che soprattutto in Italia la prima cosa che uno impara a cucinare è pasta, poi magari anche 2 uova al tegamino, ecco, sono le cose più semplici.
From where I'm from, breakfast in the English side of the family, breakfast traditionally was always the biggest meal of the day. So you had a big hearty meal in the morning, and that would kind of see you through the day. So cooking something called a full English was something I learned very early on, and that includes the bacon, the fried egg, the fried bread, the fried tomatoes, the fried mushrooms.
Fried everything.
Basically, it's a fry-up. Used to be cooked in lard, nowadays cooked in oil. But yeah, producing a full English was probably the first thing. It's very simple to cook. It's just putting a lot of things together in a frying pan and frying it hard.
It's basically culinary on a plate.
Yeah.
The first thing I learned how to cook was actually scrambled eggs, but the proper way. I was lucky enough to grow up in a household where I didn't have to cook, so I really didn't cook. I mean, there was like the occasional baking or like, woo, let's do something, but like the thing I actually learned how to cook was scrambled eggs when I went to college because I had to survive.
We didn't have packed lunches, we had school dinners, and I remember at primary school they were
Awful.
kind of
Prison
disgusting. And then they introduced a new chef or something when I was leaving our primary school, and it got a bit better. And then at secondary school, we had school dinners again, and it was a lot nicer. There was loads of choice, and everyone would sit together in the canteen, and it was really nice. Combien du fromage?
I'll put a decent amount in there and then more from the top.
Oui, j'agree. Mama said cheddar and parmesan, but I don't think.
No, we haven't got parmesan. The only thing I'd put in that she hasn't got is a bit of nutmeg.
So typically the regular school lunch that we had when we were in elementary school was rice, and also sometimes like curry rice or I don't know, maybe like vegetables and meat and something like that, and with soup, with a bottle of milk, and maybe sometimes we have dessert. And then in middle school and high school, my mom always cooked bento box for me.
When I met Abigail, she'd been a vegetarian for 14 years, I think it was. And the first time she stopped being a vegetarian was on our honeymoon. And we were in Croatia. We were camping in Croatia, so we're in the back of my gas van, which was our camping vehicle.
It's
and I offered
luxury.
I offered her a tin of tuna. I opened the tin and she devoured this thing because at the time she was pregnant with our first child, and I think the cravings just kicked in. And from then on, it's just been a journey through food, really. Never looked back.
I don't eat that much meat now, really, but I do eat
Yeah,
it.
quite a lot.
Quite a lot.
The only ritual that my family has for food making is on Christmas. My sister, my dad, and my stepmom will always make homemade pasta. We make the pasta and then have a machine where it, cuts it up into little spaghetti-sized pieces, and we eat it, and it's tasty.
If a new member from outside the family wants to join the family, so if someone is bringing a prospective husband or wife into the family, the family will observe how he or she cuts the cheese.
Don't worry, that's just your mum.
All right, but,
Yeah, but it's funny.
with cheese, you've got a rind on the cheese. Now, if the prospective fiancé or whatever it is scrapes the rind to scrape the dirt off and eat it, that's okay. If they cut the rind off, that's not okay, because it shows that they're sort of profligate, wasteful, and they're not eating the rind. So that is a kind of a test around whether that person's going to fit in with the family or not.
We haven't had that. We haven't had anything so far with having anyone vegan come in who hasn't actually eaten cheese. You couldn't do the cheese test then.
Vegans, no.
I think the only rituals we have, it's like at Christmas or in particular occasions where you eat all together, but it's not that you have to cook something in particular. You just eat all together with the family.
Credo che a Natale, per esempio, tradizione fare i biscotti o a Pasqua colorare le uova, al compleanno si fa la torta e si festeggia tutti insieme, insomma sono questi i rituali. E poi quando c'è una giornata particolare, oltre al cibo, anche la tavola, di preparare bene, insomma piatti più belli, piatti della domenica, insomma un po' che ci teniamo tanto.
Mm-hmm.
Louis is probably the character who's on the edge of all this.
Just enjoying the food as it arrives in front of him.
Yeah, he likes his food presented. He doesn't like to partake in the ritual of creating it, which is it's a battle for the family, because to be a true member of this family. Well, it's a battle because we send our kids off out into the world being into food, and obviously it's important if people come into the family that they're into food. I mean, it was a great challenge for my mother when I presented Abigail. Well, to the family, I wanted to marry this girl, and she was a vegetarian at the time.
Yeah, but I spoke French.
And in France, there's no such things as vegetarians. They just don't have them. They don't exist. They don't exist. So that was a real shock. But then my brother brought a veggie home, and my son's brought a veggie home, and I think now she accepts that, and it's. But because food was so important, bringing a vegetarian into that environment was almost like. But it's like, bringing someone from a different religion. It was quite difficult.
You can see the ability to compromise on Charles's parents.
Their
ability to accept.
If food is, as I said at the beginning, is like a religion.
No, you just have the salad.
You find it difficult to deviate from the truth, don't you?
Oh, come on.
But we've adapted, and now we could probably say that our Sunday roast is probably. The meat in the traditional English Sunday roast used to be the main event. Well, in our Sunday roast, the meat is not the main event. It's really a sideshow. So the vegetables have been elevated to a higher level, and that's probably to do with the embracing of the vegetarianism. Would you not say, Abigail?
I just think you're overthinking.
My overcooking this. Sorry.
Overthinking it all.
So being Turkish comes with a lot of family gatherings. We have a humongous family on both sides, although my mom's side is kind of scattered around the world, but my father's side is all in Turkey or in Istanbul or in Adana, which is like a city in like the southern part of Turkey. And a lot of traditional celebrations like the sacrificial holidays or like any other kind of Bayram celebration will all get together. And my father's side, so my father's mother makes these amazing elaborate meals every time there's a celebration. And I I always get so excited because I know the food's gonna be delicious, and it's a chance for the whole family to get together because nowadays that's not a common occurrence. And one thing that she cooks that brings the whole family together is this thing called, I guess I can translate it as like turnover rice. So it's like this, it's all cooked together in this like round pot. So you have rice, eggplant, tomatoes, and like chunks of meat, and it all cooks together. So the fat of the meat like kind of drips down into the rice, and then when you turn it upside down, it just creates this amazing mix of flavors, and the whole family fights over it.
Because they've been washed.
Well, we're all in charge.
Well, I didn't know how to do washing as well on Father's Day.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
Four plates.
We're very concerned because he's going to be leaving us. He's going to hopefully go away to university, and we'd like him to go away with the ability to be able to cook. So, you know, we don't think we've done proper parenting unless we can send him off able to feed himself.
But I wasn't able to cook when I went to uni.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I had to learn.
Yeah, but you've come back and you can cook now. I mean, you can feed yourself. Yeah, as long as they don't have to live off ready meals and they can actually cook a meal from scratch, then we've done our bit. Although to be fair, Louis came down 3 weeks ago and brought a recipe for roast potatoes that was new. Okay, he didn't make the recipe. He got me to do it for him, but it was
delegated.
It was good, and it was the whole Sunday roast evolved, didn't it? Because of those roast potatoes. What were they?
Rosemary and
garlic, and yeah, they were good. In fact, they were excellent. And we all obviously congratulated Louis because he came up with the recipe, but obviously he didn't deliver the goods.
I have to preface this by saying this is a cultural thing. In Turkey, if you can afford it, you'll have help. And so we have a lovely lady working with us who helps us cook dishes because both of my parents work. And I'm like rarely home because I go to college in New York. So usually it's a one-person thing where she cooks us food. But during the weekends and stuff, it's a family affair. And every member of my family, so my mom, my dad, and myself, are very headstrong in how things should be cooked. So it's a whole debate versus cooking versus like who knows the best technique to make pasta kind of thing. But usually, like when I talk about it generally, it's a one-person thing, and we have an amazing person that helps us cook, basically.
Usually only one person cooks in our kitchen. So if we cook together, we end up, I don't know how to say it in English, but yeah, only one person is cooking at our home. And together we never cook. So if we have to cook something different, first of all there's maybe my mom, and then I will end up cooking, but together it's not working.
No.
Whenever we eat dinner together, there's always some sort of bonding. You know, we have different conversations and talk about life and stuff, but it's never the food that actually makes us bond.
Loving food means you're like adventurous, you want to try new things, you want to see what the world can offer to you. So I think it helps you relate to people more. And I think that's how like food creates relationships, because you tend to do more stuff if you like food.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, well.
What?
Very good.
Sorry?
It's very good.
Yeah. It's salt dry.